Turtles, come here. I have something to speak to you about.
A ninja springs along through the night. No, he's not in an orange jumpsuit. What the hell are you smoking? He's an amphibian, of course, a product of vile ooze and the teachings of an aging bitter rat. The streets must be cleaned up once again. It's time for the Ninja Turtles. Alright, the game is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Smash Up. The Smash in the title is code for, if you like Super Smash Bros., please check this game out too. What's interesting about this game though is that GameArt's primary developer was one of the several developers that worked on the recent Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I'll state it right now that this review is going to rely heavily on comparing TMNT to Brawl. I know everything should be reviewed on its own merits, but let's not kid ourselves. Brawl is the main reason most people will be checking this game out, and how it plays like Brawl is going to be the main question on everyone's mind. All the different controller options are available, and not surprisingly, the GameCube controller works best. There are aesthetic similarities everywhere, such as even the simple things like menu screens that show that Brawl was pretty much the template for this game. In terms of how Smash Up plays though, my very first impression was that it was a very slow, clunky version of Brawl, which I find to be somewhat true even still. I just was very put off at first. Alright, the game is slowed down. Some characters are faster than others, but the overall speed is just much slower. The goal this time isn't to knock opponents off the screen, but instead to deplenish their life bar, more like a more traditional fighting game. Characters do not get knocked around faster depending on how much damage they've taken. This all isn't too bad though, it's just some distinguishing qualities. What really turned me off though was that the number of playstyles is severely limited. For reference on the Cube controller, A is your main attack button, while B is your quick attack button. Yeah, it's basically a standardized fierce and jab attack. There are very few interesting novelty attacks that you can do in this game. There's no PK Thunder, Thunder Shock, Fox-like Gun, pulling vegetable, projectiles out of your ass, or anything clever like that. Zip, zilch, none at all. As one might fear, everyone has a similar moveset, and most of the characters play like they were based off of a sword-based character from Brawl. There are some differences between the characters, and even the turtles, which all look the same, require modified strategies, but I suppose perhaps it's just mainly a mental issue where you never really feel like you're playing a particularly unique character. Everyone in TMNT kind of looks the same, and while attack ranges and speed differs, it feels a bit dulled. There are some annoyances with the controls as well. You do get smash attacks with A and B, but you can't charge for either. It feels like this was done to differentiate the game from Brawl, but really, when you're making a knockoff / spiritual successor title, what's even the point? Sure, that might be getting a little picky, and it works for this game, but then there's also no ducking in this game either. Now, ducking in a fighting game like this really isn't absolutely necessary, but just like the lack of jumping in an adventure-based game, it sort of pulls away from the amount of control it feels like you have over your character. It's not like they couldn't have given the characters a simple ducking animation either, because, well, pressing down just does nothing. You also get no down tilt attack, although there is a down smash. This doesn't really hurt the overall playability of the game, although it does make it feel a little incomplete, and distances you from feeling like you have total control. There is a down diagonal tilt, which is kind of weird, although nice, but then when there's no dash attack that differs from a forward tilt attack, it gets kind of annoying because the down diagonal tilt is awkward to hit and is pretty much what you would have expected from a dash attack in this game. TMNT is basically just trying to be clever, but for really no point, and these weird choices just add nothing at all. After taking Smash Up Online, I did learn that there was some depth to this game. You can roll in and out of attacks, and a good amount of what makes Brawl so good is still in this game. You need to read your opponent to figure out just what the right times are to jump in and out of their striking zone, hopefully landing a blow before they do. It gets pretty damn fun in one-on-one battles as well as free-for-alls. The somewhat limited and awkward design choices in the controls and playstyles do not cripple this game completely when it comes down to the ultimate purpose of just having fun. The air game gets a kind of unique take as well. You basically have either a neutral attack regardless of tilt, or a spike down attack. It seems a little limited at first, and really it kind of is, but there's also a large emphasis placed on running up walls and then leaping off of them into basically what becomes a honing attack on your opponent. It's kind of cool. The items in this game are also a vast improvement. The variety is limited, but they are not over the top, excessive, or game breaking, and can actually add something to the experience without being completely unfair. I never fully got over the overall clunky feeling of these controls. I can deal with the fact that it's slower, but things like the time lag it takes to block, spot dodge, and roll seems to be very slightly unresponsive. You can't really dash in and grab as much as you'd like to when the opponent misses a more slower, elaborate style attack. Overall, the game plays kind of well and is a joy to take online, but it never gets great. The offline play is shallow, and the minigames like grab the pizza and climb as high as you can that are mandatory to play during the arcade mode are snoozers. Missions, you know, just like beat your opponent with certain moves and all that, are a little better, but not by much. Honestly, I kind of hate having to play this game by my very lonesome, perhaps more than any other fighting game I've played recently. I know, whatever, who plays these games alone anyway, but it's something that should be stated in this review, I suppose. In terms of the Turtles franchise, Ubisoft completely misses the boat by offering the most generic characters in the franchise. That's great. There's the 4 Turtles, Shredder, April, Casey Jones, the Foot Soldiers, Splinter, Kyrie from the movie, something called Ultraminator, which may or may not be Krang, and 3 stupid rabbits, you know, from Rayman. What the hell right there? This was such a great opportunity to branch together all the different Turtles generations, but it was just completely missed, and it could have brought so many more playstyles to the game provided that the controls were tightened up just a little bit. Where the hell is Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang in his brain form, Baxter Stockman, all the weird-ass characters from the original comic, all the unique characters from the original cartoon series, and more? I know, none of this is truly necessary, but damn, wouldn't it have been awesome? The presentation is sort of average, and I'm not a big fan of the art style, although I won't downgrade the game for it. The music is just alright, and the stages are decent, although there could have been a couple more. The online play has actually been vastly improved from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, as the lag is hardly noticeable, which is actually pretty amazing. As usual though, the online mode is very impersonalized, thanks to Nintendo's policies. All in all, Smash Up isn't a bad game. I had some fun with it. However, I can't see this ever becoming any group of friends' primary fighting game. Assuming you aren't made out of money, it's really the kind of game you hope someone else in your group ends up buying rather than yourself. Smash Up will definitely lead to some good times once everyone gets over the small learning curve, but this game really is not a standout title at all. I'm sure for a while people will try to convince themselves that it is, as it's very close to being one, but well, it's mainly just a whole lot of missed potential and opportunity. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Smash Up for the Nintendo Wii receives a 6 out of 10.